Absent. Commissioner Rustaller.
Present.
Commissioner Sangha.
Here.
That concludes roll call.
Okay, any actions on requests for continuances or withdrawals?
Thank you, Chair. Jennifer Jolly, Community Development Director, requesting a continuance for the development title text amendment, item number 2 on the agenda, PA 2200189 of San Joaquin County for the Ag Mitigation Ordinance. We request that you move that meeting to the next regularly scheduled meeting in November, which would be November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, I believe you need a motion for that.
Please.
We could have a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Hamilton is absent. Commissioner Midgley. Commissioner Rustaller.
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha.
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Moving on to our action items, our consent agenda, item number 3, items calendared for consent will be approved in one motion without a public hearing unless a member of the Planning Commission or the audience requests that the item be removed.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to remove item number 3 from consent.
Okay.
Thank you. The purpose of removing the item from the consent calendar is to address the fact that the Board of Supervisors at their meeting yesterday granted an automatic 2-year time extension for all planning applications, with the exception of minor subdivisions, major subdivisions, and quarry operations that are in approved status. As such, we request that instead of granting a 1-year time extension for this person, we would, or for this project, I should say, we would request that you grant a 2-year time extension consistent with board action yesterday, which would result in a new expiration date of August 30th, 2024 for the item. Thank you.
Okay, I believe we need a motion to.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make motions that we accept permit PA 1600049 and go from the 1-year time extension to 2 years, as just stated.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Sangha.
Yes.
Commissioner Rustaller.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton is absent. Commissioner Midgley.
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Okay, moving on, we're going to have a presentation on the action item number 1, development title.
Thank you, Chair. We have Megan Aguirre. She's a senior planner with the Planning Division, and she has a presentation for you. And this will likely be an interactive discussion if the Commission would like it that way. She has a few corrections as well that she will read into the record for tonight.
So I believe we're going to have the presentation, bring it up to the Commission to discuss, open it up for public comment then, and then with a final commission. Is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
So everyone knows.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you today is the Development Title Update Project, which includes 3 applications. The first application, PA 211, is the actual Development Title Text Amendment, which includes revisions for consistency with and to implement the 2035 General Plan that was adopted in December of 2016. If approved, the existing development title would be rescinded and replaced with the proposed development title. The second application, PA 213, is a zone reclassification to address inconsistent zoning for 1,014 parcels. Most of these parcels became inconsistent with the general plan in 2016, but a few were inconsistent prior to approval of the 2035 general plan. The third application, PA 214, is a general plan text amendment for technical amendments, consistency with the development title, changes in state law, and to facilitate streamlining of the permitting process. Pursuant to Government Code Section 65860, the main purpose of this project is to make the development title consistent with the general plan and new state laws. As brought forward at several past Planning Commission meetings and identified in the staff report, there are a number of proposed changes throughout the document. Therefore, the existing development title would be repealed and replaced with the proposed development title. Since this document covers a lot of topics, staff recognizes that this is a living document and future updates will be required as a few topics remain unchanged or minimally changed, such as flood hazard requirements and quarries, while others are all new or have changes that are untested as of yet, such as agritourism, short-term rentals, and special events. So rather than focusing on the topics already covered in the staff report, staff would like to address a few additional items to be considered for inclusion with the proposed development title text amendment. These items are listed in an attachment to the notes for this evening so that the Planning Commission can easily identify which items, if any, they would like to include in the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So this is where it's a little bit more of the discussion part of the presentation. There are 12 items. And I'm just going to kind of briefly go through them, and there's a few I'll talk a little bit more about. So the first couple of items there that are table updates, those are regarding housing. So we want to add some more flexibility into the development title to allow for some more housing options or at an easier level permitting process. And so those have come out of discussions about specific projects where we recognize that we need to make some updates. And then following that, we have an update we'd like to make to the sign chapter. So we'd like to allow for sign modification requests, and we would want to do that through the administrative use permit process. That's similar to what's in our current title, but was not included with the proposed update, so we want to go ahead and include that back in the document. Item number 4, we just want to remove the term act of God from a couple of sections in the title. It didn't feel appropriate. Number 5, we have there, we just want to clarify that educational animal project items would be subject to the same standards as family food production. Just a point of clarification that was left out in the table. And then the last item on this first slide is to allow large agricultural stores to be a minimum of 1,500 square feet. That's how it's worded in our current title. Small ag stores are a maximum of 1,500 square feet, but for some reason that was accidentally stated for both, that they'd both be a maximum of 1,500, so we're just fixing that. So the remaining items that we have, the first one is just a change from 100 to 75 people being the criteria for the level at which we want to require an event permit. When it comes to like private events that may not normally seem like they'd be something that would require a permit. We just want to reduce that number a little bit. That was my error. I had put in 100 by accident. The next one is a clarification from the Environmental Health Department. There was a typo where it said department instead of division in reference to a document. And then the next one is for road naming. We have some language about road naming in our title, but it's not real clear. It doesn't have a lot of detail, so we'd like to add a little bit more that gives the zoning administrator the ability to name a road if it seems appropriate for, even if it's a private road, for people being able to find where they're going. So just to make a little more sense there for the public. And then we also want to clarify that road name changes. So when there's an existing road that already has a name and we want it to be changed, that would go through the zoning compliance review process because that's not clear in the title right now. Item number 10, we have some changes to the agricultural experience section of the title that we'd like to make. So these next couple items were based on some input we received from the public. There's a letter attached to the staff report from James Chincholo, and he had some comments. Staff took those, kind of reviewed them in, with some of the other things that we've received informationally, and are recommending some changes. I believe James may be here tonight to discuss some of that, and he may have some further input. But this is kind of our version of what he gave us. So one of the things that we'd like to change is that we'd like to, in the event that someone would like to have more than 49 participants at an agricultural experience or do more than 4 days a month, we'd like to allow that with an administrative use permit. And then additionally, increase the hours that those can be held from, instead of having them from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., we'd like to extend that a bit from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. That also kind of rolls into the next section, number 11, on agricultural homestays and farm stays. There were some comments as well. And so we want to clarify that a zoning compliance review is required for those. Right now, the wording was a little unclear. And then also, there was a section there that says that a property owner or farm or ranch operator has to live on site or adjoining the property. We want to add the option for a representative, someone other than those specific people. And then the last one that we're looking at adding at this time we want to allow the zoning administrator to require additional public notice for commercial cannabis projects when it's deemed necessary. So that's kind of our list of additional changes that we'd like the commission to consider.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, could we go back to number 4? I think you said that you wanted to remove the phrase act of God, and you said because you didn't think it was appropriate. So what is the appropriate term you're going to be putting in there?
That section already has a list of reasons why someone might need to do something, and so act of God was just another reason that was listed there. So instead of that, it might be like natural calamity or other terms like that.
So is that written into it now? It says natural calamity?
Yes, and I can pull up the actual language right now.
So while you're doing that, so what you're saying is that you're cleaning up because you're going to take out, and forgive me for asking this, but so act of God isn't something that happens anymore, or are you?
Well, it could depend. I think because that one could be up for debate, there might be people that don't believe in God or believe that God is responsible for conditions that occur. I think we took that out to instead just include all of the other existing items. So that was a term that carried over from our current title. It is at the discretion of the commission if they want to remove that or not, though.
I think act of God is used by insurance companies still quite a bit. And so if it's in their language, I could see some crossover. I don't know what's in section 9 where that would ever come up in a thing, but it is, insurance companies use act of God quite a bit. And in court, I imagine, in cases all the time, we've actually seen it on policies. Something to consider anyway. Mr. Roostall, anything else?
I'd like to remain.
Okay. Anything else on here? This is the discussion part. We're kind of the tough thing to chair because it's a discussion, but it's not. We're getting a presentation. So I think we made the comments on there that you were looking for.
a few more things to talk
Okay.
about other than the development title, so, because we have the other two applications that are part of it.
Gotcha.
So if you're ready, I'll go ahead and move forward with that. So as required by Government Code Section 65860 for consistency with the adopted 2035 general plan, zone reclassifications are proposed for just over 1,000 parcels totaling approximately 14,000 acres of land within the county. This map depicts all of the proposed changes in purple. The majority of the affected parcels are located near the cities of Stockton, Manteca, and Ripon, and will be rezoned from general agriculture to agriculture urban reserve due to this close proximity and identification by a city as planned for future development. The agriculture urban reserve zone retains parcels in agriculture that are identified as planned for future urban development until they can be developed with the proper timing and provision of services and utilities. In conjunction with the development title update, several minor amendments are proposed to the 2035 general plan to modify or correct errors and to make adjustments for consistency with the development title. Additionally, a new general plan designation of warehouse industrial is proposed as a designation that will be consistent with the existing warehouse industrial zone. The warehouse industrial zone is currently compatible with the limited industrial general plan designation, but the addition of a warehouse industrial general plan designation would allow for more flexibility by providing for locations to allow dry industrial uses that are less impactful to surrounding areas in places where additional development is logical due to the close proximity to existing development, and while also not requiring connection to public services. In order to approve the project applications, the following findings must be made in the affirmative. We have the basis for development title text amendment, which requires consistency with the general plan and applicable master plans. Basis for zone reclassification, which also requires consistency with the general plan and applicable master plans, as well as specific plans, and that the zone change is reasonable and beneficial. And then the basis for general plan text amendment, which requires that the internal consistency of the general plan is maintained. As discussed in the staff report and provided in attachment F, staff is recommending that all of these findings can be made in the affirmative.
Might be a good time to the commission for discussion on any of the outstanding other questions you may have, or open the public hearing, and then we can come back for our recommendation if you'd like, or she can read it right now. It's just pretty lengthy.
Let's do the recommendation right now, and we'll discuss, open it up.
Okay. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission forward the addendum to the San Joaquin County 2035 General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report for the Development Title Update Project, PA 21-1 TA, PA 21-3 ZR, and PA 21-4 TA, to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for adoption. Or Development Title Text Amendment number PA 21-1 with the additional text amendments except for number 4 attached to the notes for this evening to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval based on the ability to make the required basis for Development Title Text Amendment. Or Zone Reclassification number PA 21-3 to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval based on the ability to make the required bases for zone reclassification, and for General Plan Text Amendment number PA 21-4 to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval based on the ability to make the required basis for General Plan Text Amendment.
Okay, thank you. Bringing it back to the commission. Any comments?
I'll ask questions on the 12 revisions. Yeah, in number 12, the revision 9802 about adding to the zoning administrator can require additional public notice for commercial cannabis projects where deemed necessary. Is this also taking into account what we talked about at the last commission meeting about notifying less than, what is it?
Yeah, extending out for cannabis projects. Is this addressing that we just discussed, or is this a separate?
I know you weren't here, so.
Through the chair. Yes, so The development title actually includes a much larger radius for standard projects as well. So for instance, in the agricultural zone, right now it's 1,400 feet, and I believe we are increasing it up to about a half a mile. This language just allows us to go even farther if we want, if we deem it necessary.
But I think what the problem was at the last meeting we had was it goes up to 1,400 feet, but somebody who lived 150 feet away didn't get any notification. So are we going to address that somewhere down the road, that everybody within 14 square feet going east, west, north, and south is going to get notification?
The only way I can address that is to say that we use computers to generate the lists. It's not even human error, so they should have gotten notice. There are still reasons why people don't get the notice due to the mail. We do our best. We don't do certified mail for notification. That would be incredibly expensive to do something like that. So I would say of all the projects that we typically process, we don't run into notifications too often, where there's an issue that they didn't know about a project. I do think that the 2,600 feet should take care of, a half a mile from a project site is a pretty good notification radius. We also try to put things on our website. We do our best. We put it in the paper and things like that. So I don't really know how to respond to someone who says they didn't get the notice. We have a computer-generated list of who did receive notice. So I don't really have an answer as to why someone 150 feet wouldn't have gotten notice because they should have. So.
Talking about 26.
The current code requires 1,400 feet for the agricultural zones. We are requesting to increase it to 2,600 for any project that requires notification in the agricultural zone. This particular language was just to give us the authority to go much larger if we, as staff or as the director, I could do this if I feel warranted. If you'll recall the item up in Lockford, the cannabis item up there, we ended up increasing that notification radius to about 2 miles at the director's discretion. So that's all that section is doing, is really granting us formally the ability to do that. In actuality, we can increase the radiance as much as we want, to be honest. The 2,600 will be a minimum.
So we're already increasing on the 2,600. And if a commissioner was to call and say, hey, this seems like a very, if Commissioner Hamilton got calls from people and seems to be very controversial, would he be able to call you or any of us be able to say, hey, it seems like there wants to be some more notice. Can we extend this out? Is that a possibility if we see something on the agenda that looks a little controversial like cannabis?
It's something that we could consider for sure. There are other ways for us to get the information out too. So if, for instance, if the area where the project is has a municipal advisory council, we often will reach out to them too. They're really helpful in getting the information out. So before I would go to straight 2 mile radius on a project, I'd probably reach out and see if we could get some other ways to increase it, because there will always be that 2 mile radius and then the 2 mile radius and 1 foot who won't get it. And then, so sometimes you just can't notify people enough, but we try from different angles.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from any of the commissioners? Yeah. Number 4.
That's probably the way it's trying to include everyone.
Yeah, I think that the other language that she was saying does include everyone. I think it's, we say it in the Pledge of Allegiance up here. How likely is it that an insurance company is ever going to use, they would need this language in a document to see? Very unlikely, but it's also as unlikely that someone would be very offended by seeing act of God in the development title text amendment, which I think only some of the people here actually would read. And it's like the people that work here. I don't think we're up here going through it. I don't think anyone in the audience is. So hopefully they could just, if we left act of God in there, if it was decided, they could just gloss over that page or black it out. I don't mind leaving it in because it covers people that do believe in God, as well. So that's kind of how I see it. Now, Commissioner Rustoller, any comments?
You summed it up perfectly.
Let's open it up to the public. Whoa, sorry, we got Commissioner wants to make a comment as well. Online.
So I just wanted to say that I copy that and strongly suggest that we keep act of God in there.
Okay, thank you. I think now we will open it up to public discussion of anything that you've heard up here. So you heard and want to come on up and speak? Crickets today. Crickets. This is a... Can you come up and to the so everyone can hear you? Since it's a public comment. Oh. Name and address, please.
Okay. Christine Cowart. I live at 22301 South Austin Road. And I don't understand any of this. I just don't want to be told I can't farm my land because I don't have enough acreage.
Gotcha. This would probably be a specific, we're obviously not familiar where the land is or what it's zoned for, so it's probably hard to answer for anyone here. But was there something in this that...
Well, I don't know. I just got a notice in the mail. I don't know what's going on.
Gotcha. So you got a notice in the mail and kind of some scary language, and it's like, oh, shoot, I better show up.
Suddenly I'm going to get told that I can't farm because I don't have enough acres. That's how I pay my property tax.
Let's see. Was there anything in this development title that says anything that we could be discussing? I don't think so that I've seen. Director, I'm going to ask you.
Okay. Well, there are a couple of things. So I'm not aware of anything in the development title that limits anyone's ability to farm. In San Joaquin County, you can farm any piece of land with any kind of zoning, so zoning does not matter.
Okay.
We also do not have a minimum size requirement for farming either. The notification that you likely received was regarding I'm going to call it the cleanup that we were doing. So basically, every property in San Joaquin County has a general plan designation and a zone, and they're supposed to be compatible. And what we found after the adoption of the general plan in 2016 was that the lines for zoning and general plan designations did not line up. So that we are literally cleaning it up. We are not changing anyone's zoning. We are just making the correction to the lines. So it will not change anyone's use. We would not change someone's zoning without them being aware. That's not what this project is at all. We are happy to meet with you separately if you'd like, and we can look at your property, and I think we can probably put your mind at ease because the whole point of this project was to clean up some things that cause problems for people, not to cause problems for people with the project.
Okay.
So as far as the farming goes, there's no restriction on the size. Absolutely.
There's right to farm laws that protect all sorts of things. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. Maybe if you want to go down and discuss your specific property, but I know anytime I get a letter from the government.
How do you make an appointment to have a private discussion, I guess?
Yeah, no problem.
My recommendation through the chair would be to, if you can, stick around for the remainder of the meeting, and then I can give you a card.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience want to discuss anything? Yep.
Mike Castellanos, Highway 4, east of 99, about a mile on Highway 4. And I'm in the same boat. And is the future impact, all that we're talking about, going to impact the ability for me to stay in my 5 acres that I have there and not worry about the industrial park that's to my west coming over and taking over my property?
And there's no type of eminent domain type things happening, but the language is confusing. And if you get a letter, it's hard, but I'm sure it's kind of the same thing. If you want to stick around, I'm pretty sure staff could, I'm pretty sure nothing's going to change at all, correct, with this specific property?
Correct. Again, we are not changing anyone's zoning from something that they're currently allowed to do to something that they're not. I'm going to look at my staff to confirm that I am relaying this information correctly.
Yeah, so there are minimal changes between the two zones, but their general plan has already been changed, so it's already been decided that that would be what their limitations are, and there's not a lot of differences. So I've had a number of people contact me about the change, and so I've been able to explain that and provide the list so they can see exactly what the differences are. But if you're doing like crop production or having a house on your property, none of those things are changing. It's only if you were to like start a new business, there might be a difference in what you can do. A lot of these properties are within a sphere of influence for a city, so if something were to happen, they would get notification of anyone wanting to develop property in that area, and your property is not going to be, generally nobody's coming to develop your property without you knowing about it. Somebody would approach you to buy your property if they wanted to develop it. Or as the property owner, if one of the people that's getting rezoned wanted to pursue something with the city in the future, that would be on them. Because if you're going from agricultural to something else, there's going to be requirements for like public infrastructure for water, sewer, storm drainage. The county requires ag mitigation to be paid for. That's why we're still keeping these as agricultural properties.
So if this gentleman basically wanted nothing to change at all with how he's currently living on his property and the 5 acres or so, and wanted to pass it on to his kids, nothing's changing at all, correct?
Correct.
Unless you want to sell the property or something like that. Nothing is going to change your property and what you can do there, what you currently do there as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Chair, could I add something else just as a point of clarification?
Of course.
I understand that general plan and zoning can be very confusing. A lot of people don't understand why they have two different designations for their property. So a general plan designation is kind of the long-term plan for the property. So there are situations where someone might have a general agriculture general plan, and as the cities grow out, in the designation of that general agriculture may be reclassified to a different type of agriculture called AUR, which is Agriculture Urban Reserve. So you're essentially still an agricultural zone, but it's kind of looked at as a holding zone for future development. Like Megan stated, you're going to know before your property gets changed to something other than agriculture, but sometimes that can be confusing because an AUR general plan designation needs to have a compatible zone. So the compatible zone with an AUR general plan designation is an AU20 zone. They're both called Ag Urban Reserve. You can still continue to do agricultural activities on it. If there is a concern by a member of the public, my recommendation would be to you can either stay around for the end of the meeting, or we can get your contact information and follow up and set up an appointment to kind of walk you through it, because I don't want anyone uncomfortable with the changes that are being made. A lot of the changes in the zoning are going to be changing it to AU20 to be consistent with their already designated general plan, which was done in 2016. So I understand the confusion.
It's a lot of abbreviations.
It is.
Right?
It's a lot of acronyms, and it's a lot of planning terms. So, but I do feel like we can explain the information to the public if we have a one-on-one, which we're happy to do.
And I think in plain speak, nothing's changing about your property or your current use.
Well, you're not being designated to anything but still agriculture.
Correct. Okay. And if you guys have any further questions, staff will help you. They're very good at answering that stuff. I have questions about all this stuff all the time. I get lost on the acronyms sometimes as well.
There are a lot of them.
Okay. I think public discussion. Anyone? Oh, I believe we got someone else.
Part of it, the change from Ag 40 to Ag 20.
Can you talk to the mic? It's on record. So
I live at 11140 Graves Road, which happens to be at Austin and Graves Road. And this lady here sent me an email with the maps and stuff. She explained, and she actually spent a good amount of time on the phone with me, explaining it pretty well. The main concern I had is in the last 2 months, there's been three pieces of information that have come out just in this area. One of them was the city of Manteca wants to start building a housing project. Then last month I find out that they're going to tear out the on-ramp from Austin to northbound 99 and off-ramp from 99 to Woodward. They're going to tear that out this year and not replace it. And then we get this notice here about the redesignation of something that happened in 2016. And it's like, a lady that lives in Austin, not too far from where I live, it's like, the hell's freaking going on? And then the Hat Mansion, which is in south of 120, they just tore out a whole orchard, and they're going to start building homes there. That's just across the freeway. So we're all like, you know, everything's shut down for about 2 years for the pandemic, and all of a sudden, boom, everything's freaking growing. And yeah, I'm right at the corner of the change. So I'm looking at is it's going to change from what my plans were, leaving it to my kids and so forth. Because my piece is even smaller. My piece is only 3 acres, and I'm on a corner lot. So.
Referring as far as growth happening around you?
Yeah, it's in.
Some of that could be city of Manteca, some of it could be different jurisdictions. It could be city of Manteca, it could be San Joaquin County. Yeah, it could be several different things, but nothing specifically will change about your property without your say-so. That makes sense.
Well, technically on the map, I mean, I guess it's already happened because it happened in 2016 it was from I-40 to AU-20. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff happening just in that one area. And yeah, and I mean, tearing out the on-ramps and off-ramps, then finding out that the future plans, it becomes part of Manteca's sphere of influence. And my understanding is commercial warehousing and stuff like that. So if they're tearing out on-ramps and off-ramps, and Caltrans, according to what I was able to read on their San Jose COG, was they don't have plans to replace those on-ramps for another 10 years. So why are we talking about growth on Austin Road when we're taking away capacity, and Manteca is talking about adding homes to that road, to Austin Road, to 120, Austin and 120, basically to get on 99, and we're taking away off-ramps. It scares me what it comes down to.
No, I understand. Can you please state your name and address, please?
First Emmanuel, last of Sarmiento, Sarmiento.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Chillo, nothing? You're here, you might as well, yeah, might as well come up, you're here.
What Megan noted in the presentation is consistent. What I wrote in an email and is also consistent with what the other farmers that I've been working with on the way in which the agritourism section reads. It's very amenable and is in alignment with the way I see my own operation growing, and also is in alignment with some of the other operations that are currently in place right now and their growth trajectory as well. I'm happy that you guys heard me out, and happy those changes are being considered, and go from there.
Yeah, Steph's great with taking suggestions, and it's good when people participate because I could see that it does make a difference for future. Even just coming here with questions saying, hey, I don't understand something. I mean, that's more guts than most people have. So thanks for everyone being involved. Is that it, or do you got anything else?
Unless there's any questions that the commissioners have for me.
Just wanted to kind of check in and see if it was kind of like what you were expecting, and that's it for me.
No, thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? Anyone online? Nope.
No participation online.
Okay.
My name is Rachel Espinoza. I live on 18990 McKinley Avenue, Manteca. 3 years ago, the city of Manteca took part of our property, the front part, because of the expansion of the road. And then they came in last year wanting more land. So now they have taken up close to the front of the door of our property under eminent domain, which gives us hardly any space in the front of the property. Now, I was kind of arguing or just talking about with the city, and because I saw it as not being right, first taking the front 14 feet into the property. We have an acre and a half, but they took in 14 feet from the street in. Then they took more footage in, when they could have gone across the street, which was empty. There was no housing in the front. There was a modular way in the back. That was like 10, 15 acres, probably about there.
I don't want to interrupt, but does it have to do with the development title that we're discussing? Did something come up that you heard during this that?
Well, that's the development. Isn't that including also development from there?
Not necessarily the, oh, please, Director.
And because I was arguing because of the zoning, because we had also a permit, a work as a business at that time, and then they told us that we didn't have, because of the acreage that, or the footage that they took out, we couldn't have the business anymore.
Through the chair, without seeing her property exactly, I can't speak with 100% certainty, but I have a feeling what she's describing here are some of the things that the city of Manteca is doing. They have done a pretty significant update on their sphere of influence lines, and I know they're undergoing their general plan update as well, so I completely understand why this could be confusing. We're updating some of the things in our general plan. The city of Manteca has their own general plan, so I do believe that that's probably what you're referring to, but again, we would be happy to sit down and look at your property with you and at least be able to confirm who you should speak with.
And it was at that time when we had the permit, it was agriculture. Now, stuff like, we don't know what it is.
That's definitely a strange situation. If you're getting some, if government takes some of your property away and then you don't have the zoning, I don't think it would have to do with the county. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure they will speak with you afterwards if you would like to stick around.
And I asked them also to give me acreage, the zoning, how much acres or how much the footage is of the land. They haven't done it already years.
Well, I'm sure someone from staff here will direct you if it has anything to do with the county or there's anything we could do. I'm sure they will help.
Because they told me that I had to hire my own surveyor. Why do I have to hire my own surveyor? Because they took the land away.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a no good situation for sure. If you want to speak to someone from the staff afterwards, you're welcome to stick around. Thank you.
Something to the audience here. Maybe the people from together at the end. We're all in the same position. I know a few people here, so maybe find me at the end.
Can you state your name and address real quick? And also just quick, did the language or something, did you get a notice that made you think something was going on that you needed or were curious, or were you confused as well?
My name is Matt Madzer. My address is 11018 East State Route 120, Manteca, California. City of Manteca has been pretty aggressive in their development the past few years, so there's been a lot of changes in the Manteca area. Been going to different city meetings, county.
Got it.
I just wanted to make sure that all the neighbors in the area had a chance to talk at the end.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to bring it up back to the commission for a final time. And let's see if anyone appears got anything? Comments?
I hope you all in Manteca get together and take this on. And I would like to thank staff for putting this together, the reporting and everything. It shows a lot of work. And I hope everybody realizes that when you have to revise something, it takes many, many hours to do it and do it properly. So thank you, staff.
And also on the ag projects and all those that came up, that was like the best example I've seen since up here, with public comments, working with staff, to then getting something in firm action that will change someone's business, and not just his, but the other people. We all know it's really hard for people to get up here and speak, and to even come down here at 6 o'clock to discuss. So I think that's like the perfect example of real positive input when we reach out, to then get that type of feedback, and it kind of shows you what can happen. And that's for the same reason I encourage all the people from Manteca to get together. You're going to be more powerful as a one voice. Get in front of the right person. I got a hunch it's not us, but still it does make a difference. People in here have changed things with what we're going over tonight. So if you do get together, and I would get in front of the right people if you can, and you'd probably be able to be heard. That's all I have as a commissioner. Anyone else up here on the commission? It's going to be a lengthy motion, I believe. It's a lot.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept 4 recommendations and to move forward the number 1, the development title text amendment PA 210001. Number 2, zone reclassification PA 210003. And number 3, the general plan text PA 210004. And have I left out any?
Just for clarification, you would also like to include the modifications that Megan read through tonight, with the exception of number 4, which we will not be changing.
Yes, thank you for noting that.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're trying to do eye contact here, but she wants to say something, if you might.
Can I add that we would also request that you forward the addendum to the EIR for the general plan to cover the environmental aspect of the project?
Yes, please add that.
Told you it was going to be lengthy, but we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Ridgely,
Yes.
Commissioner Rustaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton is absent. Commissioner Sanga,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 4-0. Moving on to other business.
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt, I may have missed earlier the agenda item regarding public comment on matters not listed on the agenda. Did you call for that?
It's very unlike me to miss something, but you never know. Just kidding.
Well said. I just want to make sure that no one here or anyone online public comment with respect to items not listed on the agenda.
Can I do that right now?
You can.
Okay, thank you. The public is welcome to address the Planning Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Comments to the Commission are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes or 250 words for comments provided via email to pcrecords@sjgov.org. That's for public comment, anything that was not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think we have other business now.
Sure. Couple of updates from the Board of Supervisors. We had a very lengthy list of items that were approved at the board on Tuesday. I was very impressed with staff's ability to quickly get through the presentations. I think the board appreciated that as well. We had a few general plan and zone reclassification subdivisions, things that have all been before you recently that you recommended approval on. were adopted by the board as well, including the apartment complex project down in Mountain House. So that's been approved at this point. One of the most significant things that for the department is the text amendment that was approved in conjunction with the 2-year automatic time extension. People moving forward will now be granted 3 years rather than 18 months to get their projects initially completed, with the ability to ask for an additional 2 years versus 1 year. So I think that will make a big difference for our community when they're trying to follow through on building their projects. So that was something that I just wanted to thank you guys for your support on that. Thank the board as well, because I think it will be really helpful. Moving forward, would you like me to go over meetings, future meetings? Okay. So I do apologize. I did miss the last 2 meetings for legitimate reasons. However, I think we've kind of lost track of who's available at what meeting moving forward. So I'm going to have staff send one last email regarding availability, hopefully for November and December meetings, so that we can modify the agenda as necessary. Right now, this is all tentative. So on the 3rd of November, we have another situation where we've got a 1-year time extension request. It'll probably be handled in a similar manner that we did today, but we will do it preemptively. So the staff report coming forward will be for 2 years. We have a major subdivision for these are mostly Mountain House items, so 143 residential lots in Mountain House. We have a revision of approved actions to a previously approved major subdivision. They have an ag mitigation ordinance requirement that they want to change the timing on, and the timing of the ag mitigation is consistent with what the current code allows. It's just an older map. Then we will have the ag mitigation ordinance up for discussion as well on the 3rd. On the 17th, we have a major subdivision that subdivides a rural residential parcel into 7 2-acre parcels. That's located on the south side of East State Route 12, just west of Locust Tree Road in Victor. We also have a general plan amendment for one additional location for the AI zone. It's going from limited agriculture, it's a 4.81 acre parcel, to AI. We also have quite a few items on the 1st of December, and I'm happy to go over those, or I can save that for the next meeting because we have so many meetings coming up still for the remainder of the year. If I might add right now, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you guys to someone. We recently hired a code enforcement chief, which is a really great thing for the department. We have not historically had a deputy director level individual in charge of code enforcement, and we've been listening to both the commission and the board over the last, I would say decade plus, about the interest in having a more robust code enforcement division, and this is part of the plan. So I'd like to introduce Tim Burns. He'll stand up. We're very lucky to have him. He comes from the city of Fresno with a lot of experience as a code enforcement manager down there. He's also worked in Visalia. He was a former police officer. He comes with just a great sense of knowledge of code enforcement, and we're really, really excited to have him. So moving forward, I know in the past there have been requests for quarterly reports on enforcement, things like that. So we'll be touching base with you all in future meetings to see how we would like to bring that back and what kind of information you'd like to have. We will now have someone responsible to do that. So just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce him.
Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
My report.
Planning Commissioner's comments. My only comment is, staff, you guys are doing a great job, great positive changes. It's been a pleasure. So you guys are getting a lot of work done. Everyone's been fantastic. So thank you for that. Just a little pep talk for you. That's about it. And then any other comments, anyone?
I'd like to thank the staff too for making our job easier.
Yes, we all get together for a group hug before we leave.
I'm a big hugger. Let's do it.
Is that a motion? No. All right, that's going to be it for tonight, folks. Meeting is adjourned.
you.